Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Schein on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Tuesday edition of Make It Rain with Adam Schein here on VSiN. And my goodness, we have so much to do today. What a night last night in sports. Oh, my goodness. If you're a fan of the NBA on so many different levels, good, bad, and ugly, you will never forget what transpired last night in the association. We're going to go over everything, get into the Knicks, get into Tatum, get into everything that happened out west. We'll get into the draft lottery, which was a complete and utter clown show. We'll get into our NBA and NHL plays for tonight. We have some great baseball plays and some games this evening. Some NFL games released, and that means we have point spreads. I mean, that's about as great as it gets. We can start gambling now on NFL games, which is pretty awesome and pretty amazing, and that's all sorts of fun. Zach Cohen, VSiN.com betting analyst and superstar, will join us as he does every single Tuesday. I think it's important when we talk Knicks Celtics today to kind of do it piecemeal for accuracy, for betting purposes, and also for big picture and for respect when it comes to the Jason Tatum injury. Let's start with the Knicks and the win. Go New York, go New York, go. Let's be crystal clear on something, and I've seen some Twitter tough guys, some media elites try and tell me that Tatum's injury was a factor in the result of the game. It absolutely was not. It wasn't even close to being a factor in the result of the game. Jason Tatum got hurt when there was under 3 minutes to go. The Knicks were up 9. And if you watch the game in the second half, there was no shot the New York Knicks were going to lose. A massive victory. 3-1 win. 3-1 series lead when you take a look at it here. And it was just absolutely positively incredible with what transpired with regards to everything going on with the Knicks. Now, one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals, and this was absolutely positively incredible. I mean, you look at the Knicks, and you take a look at what Jalen Brunson, and you take a look at what Mikal Bridges, what they were able to do when it mattered the most. I mean, this was awesome. This was amazing. This was sensational. This was everything. And, you know, Jalen Brunson is an absolute killer, absolute star. 39 points on the game, 12 assists. Absolutely incredible. My game, get out of the way. Brunson is as dominant and as likable and as clutch a New Yorker and a basketball player as you could have. I mean, he has entrenched himself as an all-star and such a reliable dominance ball player in the history of New York sports. And how about what Mikal Bridges does yet again in the fourth quarter? And, you know, this guy could hit the broadside of a barn in the first half. And then, you know, this guy was unbelievable when it mattered the most. And you see him ultimately making shot after shot after shot with what transpired in the fourth quarter. So honestly, I couldn't get enough. It was absolutely incredible. And the way this team played, and I think it's important, and Brunson mentioned this, the way the Knicks played from the jump, the joint was jumping, you know, the energy, the effort, the execution from the Knicks early in this game was fantastic. Now, final 2 minutes of the first quarter, we saw Boston go on a run, but the Knicks came back, and Boston had a 9-point lead going into halftime. Knicks' third quarter was unbelievable. Brunson was sensational. 18 of his 37 in the third quarter. And you look at 18 of his 39 in the third quarter. Knicks outscored the Celtics 37-23 in that quarter, which was absolutely incredible. And listen, I loved every single second. Cat was awesome, 23 points. OG with that slam at the end and that incredible, sensational three-point shots of the fourth quarter. OG was great. And the Knicks, you know, that was just incredible. 88-85 after three quarters. This was the biggest win the Knicks have had in 25 years. As a diehard Knicks fan, it's been decades of buffoonery, bad management, bad players, bad coaches. And the Knicks, one win away now from the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, just as incredible and as sensational as it gets. And, you know, it's pretty remarkable. And Boston played great. And Boston deserves a lot of credit. But the Knicks outplayed them. The joint was jumping. It felt like the 90s. just an incredible performance. And listen, I said that I wouldn't crown the winner of this series to ultimately finish it out based upon last night if the Knicks won. Well, now you factor in the Jason Tatum injury, and he's expected, obviously, not to play the rest of the series. And that means the Knicks are heavily favored when you take a look at Game 5 and you take a look at everything that transpires with regards to the injury. And it was just an awful, brutal moment. It had Aaron Rodgers Jets vibes where he's on the ground, can't get up, can't put any weight on it, had to be carried off the court. I mean, my heart went out for him. It was brutal. I felt awful. And Tatum was having an unbelievable ball game. I mean, he couldn't miss last night. 42 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds. Tatum was just incredible and absolutely on fire. And, just scrambling for a loose ball and bam. I mean, my goodness. Achilles, we'll find out what the MRI says, but we're not going to see him the rest of the way. And it sucks if you're a fan of basketball. It sucks if you're a fan of the Boston Celtics. Now, listen, the Knicks obviously still need to win. And now the odds are very much in their favor when you take a look at the series board and you take a look at the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks and where they are right now in terms of the favorite to ultimately win the Eastern Conference. And, I'll tell you when you look at it, right? Knicks need to close this puppy out in 5 because I think that the Celtics who will be available in game number 5, I think that it's going to be an inspired bunch. I mean, Brown is a champion, excellent player. Same with Holiday, Porzingis. I officially hate Derek White because he's so damn good. Let's be honest. I made that decision last night watching the game with my son. I'm like, I hate Derek White. That's the ultimate sign of respect. It drives me nuts. Pritchard can obviously fill it up. But the Knicks are the better team, and the Knicks should be able to win the game based upon, I say better team, no Jason Tatum. And the Knicks made all those moves with OG and Bridges and Cat to beat Boston. Knicks had to deal with injuries last year against Indiana. I feel awful for Boston. I feel awful most especially for Tatum. Now it's the job of the Knicks to end this thing and not give the Boston Celtics any hope, not give them any life in any way, shape, or form. So you look at the point spread, Boston is still favored in the ball game coming up, so that's going to be pretty interesting when you look at it. Boston -4.5. Vegas understands what I'm saying in terms of Boston having the ability to still win a game, which is why the Knicks have to figure out a way to win. So, look, I did not have on my bingo card at this time yesterday that the Knicks would be favored to win the Eastern Conference. This is what happens when you have injuries and you play your ass off, and that's exactly what the Knicks did. This game was over. The worm turned on the game and the series even before Jason Tatum got carried off and got injured. So I think that my Knicks absolutely must and will take care of business in game number 5. The Wolves, 1 win away from the Western Conference Finals for the second straight year, and you saw Minnesota beat the Golden State Warriors 117-110. Jimmy Butler was a non-factor, only shot the ball 9 times, 14 points in this one. I loved what I saw from Ant, especially in the second half. Julius Randle was unstoppable last night. And listen, there's nothing braggadocious on my part in saying this, but the second Steph Curry got hurt, we said Golden State didn't have a chance to win another game. So that's where we are right now when it comes to Minnesota and Golden State. And I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be back in the Western Conference Finals for the second straight year. How about the Dallas Mavericks? Are you kidding me? Getting the top pick in the NBA draft. And honestly, I'm sick, I'm livid, I'm angry, I'm pissed off. The Dallas Mavericks had a 1.8% chance to win the lottery. 1.8 plus 4,000 to get the top pick in the draft. If you had a ticket for this, I need to see it. Otherwise, I'm not calling you a liar, but I'm going to have to see it. Unless, of course, you beforehand were into conspiracy theories. Because I always try, when it comes to life and sports in particular, not to buy into conspiracy theories. Now, I think the NBA draft has been the exception to the rule. Do I think the league wanted Patrick Ewing to go to my Knicks? Yes. Do I think the league wanted Victor Wembanyama to go to the Spurs? Yes. Do I think the league wanted Derrick Rose to go to his hometown Bulls team? Yes. Do I think the league wanted LeBron to stay home and play in Ohio? Yes, I absolutely do. So now I can't fight anybody who says, well, here's what happened. Nico Harrison will be the worst deal in the history of sports. League told them if you make this deal and you send Luka Doncic, generational talent, marquee ball player, to Los Angeles, teaming with LeBron, we'll make sure you get Cooper Flagg, who's a generational talent, and this is an unbelievable time to get the number one pick in the draft. I can't fight that theory, which is why the NFL does it right. Other leagues do it right. Get rid of the lottery. That's it. Enough is enough. I mean, put the order back on the screen, guys. This is crazy. The Sixers get the 3? I mean, come on. Sixers weren't tanking last year. You had smart guys, the JVTs of the world, on our show saying they were going to, win the Eastern Conference. They get the 3 seed. Last year, the Dallas Mavericks were in the finals. And Nico Harrison gets rewarded. Either gets rewarded for being an idiot to make it the worst deal in the history of sports, or the fix is in. Come on. This is absolutely, positively absurd. Absurd. So Charlotte's a loser. Utah's a loser. Washington's a loser. How would you like to be? Forget even ownership or GMs, right? How would you be a fan of one of those teams? A fan. And you watch the Dallas Mavericks get rewarded for stupidity, garbage, amateur hour, asinine, pathetic, a joke. A total joke.
You're watching Make It Rain on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Quarter bet start here and last all year long with VSiN Pro. For a limited time, we're slashing the price of our annual subscription. Normally $240, now $199. And when you sign up today, we'll throw in 2 extra months for free. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use the promo code PRO. Get 14 months of access to our daily best bets from the VSiN hosts and guests. Exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. 24/7 live video and full show replays on the critically acclaimed VSiN Watch app, plus all of our special edition betting guides. Head on over to VSiN.com/subscribe right now. Use the promo code PRO. Lock in 14 months of VSiN Pro for just $199. VSiN.com/subscribe. Welcome back, Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Let's get into some NBA and NHL plays for tonight and recap what transpired last night from a betting perspective on the ice. And there was a mixed bag of results for me with regards to the games last night, and also with regards to these series, frankly. I mean, I haven't even been close on Carolina and Washington. I loved Washington, Alexander Ovechkin, to take care of business, and Carolina clubbed them again last night. 5-2 was the final score. Carolina leads the series 3-1, and it's a mess, and it's a disaster. If you're a Washington fan, if you're a Washington bettor, if you believed in sports karma and the sports gods with Ovechkin after what transpired this year where he moves ahead of Gretzky. So Taylor Hall was able to score in that breakaway chance 3 minutes after the Capitals scored their first goal. Sean Walker added 1 minute after Ovechkin was able to strike with a 5-on-3 one-timer. And it's really just been all Canes all the time. And I picked Washington to win this series. Take a look at the series odds. I'm not even close. If you're a Canes bettor and backer, you know what? Good for you. And I'll tell you what else. And I was fascinated by this. And you got to give credit. Sometimes there are lines that are fishy. Sometimes there are things that just make you kind of squint your eyes when you see some odds in Vegas. Vegas nailed it before the playoffs started on the Capitals in general, and specifically before this series with the Capitals and the Hurricanes. So odds makers were all over this. I did not buy in, and the odds makers were absolutely proven correct. Now, I haven't even been close on that series. I have been spot on Edmonton and Vegas. And listen, I know that I work with a lot of folks who love the old Vegas Golden Knights, and Vegas is such a good hockey club, and they're deep and they're talented, and they've had home ice, and, the fans in Vegas are just incredible. Listen, this was over when it was scheduled. And the Oilers were amazing. Stu Skinner last night pitching the shutout. 3-0 Edmonton Oilers over the Vegas Golden Knights. And, you see Kane getting it done. You see McDavid getting it done. You see Adam Henrique getting it done. The Oilers, had lost in such random, flukish, gruesome fashion in game number 3. And it's just amazing watching this team bounce back and do their work. And I told you before the series started how much we loved Edmonton. We had Edmonton winning this series in 5. Golden opportunity now to win it in 5. And we said it, even with the injuries down the stretch of the season, we were still very much all in on Edmonton. They just needed to be healthy. And based upon everything that you read, all the injury reports, all the puck heads, it was all favoring Draisaitl being back. When Draisaitl and McDavid are out there doing their thing, with all due respect to anyone else, they're the best 1-2 punch in hockey. So this is what we expected. This was exactly what we thought was going to be the case. And as long as Skinner plays well, and especially the whole group is motivated by losing in the fashion that they did to the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final, down 0-3, tying it, then how they lost Game 7. I mean, all the signs and the gobs of talent favor Edmonton. Nothing would be better for the National Hockey League than to see the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid sip from Lord Stanley's Cup. We have the Stars and we have the Jets, window of exclusivity for the NHL tonight. Only one game tonight. We'll have the Leafs going at it with the Panthers in the hockey contest in the postseason tomorrow. So one game, and I think it's same old Jets. I love the Dallas Stars. And Dallas is up 2-1. And, gee, whether it's, the luck of the Mavericks and the lottery or whatever it is, everything's coming up Dallas right about now. Cowboys playing on opening night against the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll take the Stars on the money line tonight, minus 155. That is the play for the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. Pacers, Cavs, Game 5. Indy leads 3-1. And I got to tell you, I'm just blue, man. I took the cheese on Cleveland all year. I had them higher than anyone else, liked them more than anybody else in the preseason. Had them as a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. And I thought, once the season got underway and it was around Christmas time, here I'll make it rain with Adam Schein. I'm like, all right, Cleveland's going to win the Eastern Conference. And everyone and their mother, including mine, was all in on Boston being the team that, would win the East this postseason. And I said, no, the favorite should be Cleveland. They're not just a regular season team. And this is beyond injuries here when you look at it. And obviously now Donovan Mitchell's hurt and, he's got the ankle and he's a game time decision. I actually don't even understand this point spread with Cleveland favored by 7.5. And I know what happened in game number 3, and I know what they're capable of. I just feel like, before we even talk about who wins the game, I mean, this is an offensive point spread to the Indiana Pacers. Even if they don't win tonight, and I think there's a very realistic chance that they do, Indiana should be able to at least keep this thing close. And I also think the crowd is going to be very antsy. And, the Cleveland sports fan expects the worst at every single moment. And I do think that matters. If the Pacers jump out to a lead akin to what they did on Sunday night, or start playing well enough and balanced enough and dominant enough where there are vibes from Game 4 and the Mother's Day massacre and what transpired in Indiana, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't want to say Cleveland's going to fold, but I think this could get real ugly real early. Indiana's 13-0 and leading a series 3-1. I mean, it's kind of incredible. 3-1 on the road this postseason. And it's disappointing when you take a look at some of these stats and facts and figures here from a Cleveland perspective. Look at this. 1 seeds to win 1 or fewer games in a series. And I don't have much in terms of confidence here when it comes to Cleveland getting off the schneid. And honestly, I love Kenny Atkinson. That's my coach of the year, and I was screaming that forever. I mean, I don't want him to be on a list that is about coach of the year winners who don't get it done when it matters the most. So it would really bum me out because I love Cleveland so much. Related story, I'm very concerned about Mitchell's health. Still concerned about Garland. I'm concerned about the mindset of this team. And the Indiana Pacers are terrific. They've been one of the 5 best teams in basketball over the last 2 years, regular season and postseason combined. Calendar flip, they've been playing unbelievable ball. So I really think that the Indiana Pacers deserve and command a little bit more respect than maybe some others are giving credit. Nuggets, Thunder, and I respect the hell out of Denver. You know I love Adelman. You know I love Joker, who's clearly hit the wall and they don't have the depth right now. I think Vegas nailed it on the point spread on this one, right? This feels like double-digit OKC win written all over it. And I said OKC in 6. Now, the ebb and flow of this series and the zany nature of some of these games, you know, neither team could shoot early this past Mother's Day. And you look at what happened on Friday night. You look at Game 1 versus Game 2. I think this is going to be more of a carbon copy of what transpired game number 2. I think OKC is going to absolutely smoke Denver. I really believe that. I think that OKC is going to show off its talent. I think OKC is going to show off its defense. I think OKC is going to be able to show off everything that makes it a tremendous, deep, talented basketball team. You know, I love the way SGA was able to rise to the occasion, no surprise, in the fourth quarter. You know, when it was a 3-point game, Denver had that 5-second violation, and then SGA had the ball and that left elbow jump shot, and that mid-range Jay is just so fire and pure. Man, that was incredible. Need to see Williams play better. You know, I think that's a big key. You know, the Thunder won, and that was the best thing about what transpired in Game 4. But it wasn't one of those games where you said, okay, Schein's going to be right, and they're guaranteed to win a championship. So I'd like to see them not only win, I'd like to see them, not for me, not for my ego, but for them and their confidence. I'd like to see them inspire, handle some adversity, and also put the Denver Nuggets on the brink.
You're watching Make It Rain on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Bet the Preakness Stakes with First Bets and get rewarded. New customers can use the promo code VSiN200. Score 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days up to $200. That's win or lose. You get paid back. Download the First Bet app or go to first.com/bet. Use the promo code VSiN200 to get started today. That's first.com/bet. Promo code VSiN200. Welcome back, Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Joining us right now live on the Progressive Guest Line. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. He is a superstar. He is an unbelievable writer and betting analyst on VSiN.com. He is a must-follow on Twitter, even though his Twitter handle is the worst. I mean, betting on X, it's like, what the hell is that? No one knows who he is. If you didn't know that he was VSiN.com superstar, the great Zach Cohen. Z-Train, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'd be better if you changed that stupid Twitter handle, but we'll get there. I'm officially taking full control over your career and making you into the star that you are, letting you get the recognition that you deserve. How about what transpired with our Knicks, right? You know I'm a diehard Knicks fan. You were a diehard Knicks fan until you gave up on the team, and I get it, of a certain age, and you moved to Phoenix, and you're basking in the sun, and I respect that, and I appreciate that. But this win for the Knicks was noteworthy. What happened with Jason Tatum at the end did not impact the result last night, but it's certainly awful, and it matters for Game 5 and beyond. Give us your take on what you saw last night. And for the Knicks, what does this mean moving forward?
It means a lot because I think that was the cleanest win that they've had in this series so far. You know, the first one where I'd say Knicks really went out and won it rather than the Celtics giving it away. I know Boston did have a 16-point lead in the game, but that was more about the shot making of the Knicks late in the game, especially from Jalen Brunson, than it was anything else. And I agree with you. Tatum injury happened late. They were already down. That's a 3-1 series. You know, maybe you could say the Celtics would have come back and won 3 straight. We probably will never know. You know, the Knicks are going to win this series, in my opinion, and they're going to move on and I believe, face the Pacers. And you have to feel really good if you're a Knicks fan right now about their chances of, you know, doing something special this season, because obviously Oklahoma City has not looked the part of what they did in the regular season. I think you can feel like you're going to beat the Pacers. You're going to have a shot against whoever wins the West. Like, this feels like a real opportunity for the Knicks to win a title.
Listen, I'm glad you said that, and I don't think that's crazy. Now, as a sports fan, I'm not letting myself go there, but doing what I do for a living, I don't argue with anything that you said. And go back to my take after the Karl Anthony Towns deal, and when we had our preview show for the season on Make It Rain with Adam Schein, my prediction for the NBA Finals was OKC New York. Like, this was the vision based upon the roster that the Knicks and Leon Rose put together. So I don't think that's crazy. Now, with that said, Vegas is favoring the Celtics in the ball game tomorrow night by 4.5 points. I think the Knicks kind of need to finish this in 5. There still are some great players with championship experience on Boston. You agree with that take that the Knicks, for them, for rest, for the series in the next rounds, need to be able to beat Boston on Wednesday night and win in 5 games?
I don't think that they have to. I mean, it would obviously help them quite a bit. I just do think the way you look at this the rest of the way is the Knicks need to win 1 of 3. I don't think you want to put too much pressure on them just to win this one. I mean, I do think that the Knicks are a well-coached and motivated team. They're going to go there with the intention of ending that series. The reason that I think that the Celtics are favored is just there's still talent there. I mean, even if Tatum's out, which he will be, they still have enough talent there to win a home game. And, you know, there is a little bit of that zigzag theory at play here where Boston, you know, not ready to roll over in the series, is a good home team despite what we saw in those first 2 games. They're going to come out swinging. It's just a matter of whether or not they have enough. I agree with you. The Knicks are a crazy talented team. You know, and almost everything we saw during the regular season almost went against that, to the point that a lot of people did not believe in New York heading into the postseason. But now, you know, you're seeing them lock in on defense a little bit more. You're seeing the late game shot making, and you're seeing other teams kind of crumble late in games a little bit. So that's why I said I view the Knicks as a contender, and I do moving forward.
Z-Train, you were all in on Minnesota. When we previewed the playoffs, you said you would put everything on the Timberwolves winning the Western Conference. You had a 20-1 ticket. You were all in on Minnesota. I didn't like them in the series against L.A. I did love them against Golden State, albeit not necessarily like this with the Steph injury. But how did you know? What have you seen here from these Minnesota Timberwolves?
I just looked back to December 1st on. You know, they got off to a really slow start to the season, but pretty much from that date forward, they played like a top 5 team in the NBA. If you look at cleaning the glass, this was a top 10 team in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. Their numbers defensively were very similar to what they had last year. And I always kind of liked the pairing of Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle for the postseason, especially because I think that Towns, for as good as he is, he's best when he's shooting open jumpers, you know, as a pick and pop threat. Randall goes out and creates shots for himself. And I think that they really needed that last year when they lost to Dallas. I think that there was a little too much pressure on Edwards. They were able to blitz him, get the ball out of his hands, and nobody else was able to beat him. You can't do that anymore with Randall. He's just so good attacking downhill. And I do think that adding a DiVincenzo, a really good three-point shooter, you know, just to the rotation in that move was just really smart. I think that Tim Connolly is a really good decision maker, as you know, as a president of basketball operations. And I know that everyone said that Towns trade was a salary dump. I don't really view it as that. I think that he knew what he was getting in that Knicks duo.
Yeah, I love that you shouted out Tim Connolly, who's my guy. And I love him and loved him in Denver, love what he's doing in Minnesota. I did not like that deal. I give you credit for recognizing it. The New York-Minnesota deal from a Minnesota perspective. I didn't like the fit with Randall and Edwards. I think there was a large part of me that the take was right in the regular season. What matters is the postseason, and these guys have complemented each other brilliantly, and they're playing incredibly well. And frankly, everyone involved, starting with the great Tim Connolly, deserves a lot of credit. Z-Train, I went nuts on Twitter. You know that, of course, with your incredible Twitter handle, Betting on X. We went nuts to start the show with the Mavericks winning the draft lottery. It's a sham. It's a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. If anyone says it's fixed, I can't argue it. This is everything wrong with sports and society and logic and sanity. What was your reaction to Dallas getting the number one pick and getting Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, I mean, initial reaction is I don't think it's fixed, but I do think that the lottery is a mess. Like, I don't really see any reason for the teams in the 7 to 14 range to even have a shot at the number one pick. I think that should be a 0 moving forward. I don't know if they're going to make any changes to that, but I believe I saw it was 4 years in a row that the worst team in the league is picking 5th. Like you can't have that. These teams need ways to get better, and I know you don't want tanking, but some of these small market teams desperately need a shot at star power because they lose their own stars when they have them. It's just really hard to get better if you're not picking towards the top of the draft. So that's what I hated about the lottery. And I will say, I wrote up already 2025, 2026 NBA championship odds for the website that came out last night on DraftKings. It's hard not to like Dallas as a long shot at 25-1. I know there's a lot of uncertainty with Kyrie Irving in the first half of the year. Needs to come back from that torn ACL, but once he does, that's a really tough playoff rotation with Irving, AD. You're now adding, Cooper Flagg to the mix, and obviously Flagg is, maybe a little bit flawed when talking about his jump shot, but everything else is pretty much perfect. He's an unbelievable on and off ball defender. He's going to come in right away and really help Nico Harrison's vision for a defense wins championships type of team. They did not deserve him. Maybe the Mavs fans did, but they have him, and they are now going to be very, very tough in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it's great analysis, and I love that you wrote that up last night, and that's great for everybody who subscribes to VSiN.com. It's a must-read, and you nailed it on the Mavericks are back. Like, they're going to be in contention for everything next year, and it's crazy. All right, let's go through the ball games tonight. Cavs, Pacers, Nuggets, Thunder. Take us through it and your plays tonight.
Yeah, so for Cavs Pacers, the only thing I have is over 6.5 rebounds for Miles Turner. I really don't know what to make of this game. Like, I don't want to lay the points with the Cavaliers, just not knowing how healthy Donovan Mitchell is. So I'm staying away, even though it is a spot where I do expect Cleveland to bounce back. But I do think Turner's had 7+ rebounds in 3 of his last 4 games. He's averaging 15 rebound chances per game in this series. He spoke about the motivation level they had going into game 4. I trust him to just have a decent game on the glass. 7+ is not a lot to ask out of a big man. And then in the other game, I'm going Thunder over 115.5 for their team total. I just think this is a team that's missed a lot of good shots. And I know that playing at Ball Arena at altitude is really tough. I also think that having some unproven rotation players is something that's tough to trust in the postseason. Getting back home should be the right medicine for that. I think we're going to see a really good 3-point shooting performance out of OKC.
Oh, listen, we're on the same page. I think OKC is going to explode tonight. So I love that play. We'll roll alongside. Zach, you're the best. Keep up the unbelievable work on VSiN.com, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
You're watching Make It Rain on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The NBA playoffs are heating up, and our partner ProfitX is offering the best odds all playoffs long. ProfitX is a peer-to-peer sports exchange available in 40 or more states. You're going to be able to make your sports picks against other groups of fans rather than against sportsbooks. Exchanges guarantee the best odds on average by 10 to 20%. You can even request your own odds. Download ProfitX today. Code VSiN. Earn up to $200 in profit cash over your first month. Welcome back, Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Time for our news, notes, nuggets, and nightly plays. And Hey, we've got some more ball games with the drips and the drabs and the breadcrumbs that are being released officially when it comes to the NFL schedule. And take a look at the international games that have officially been released. And, you know, we have a game in Brazil like last year on that Friday night. Now, they haven't announced officially that it's going to be Chiefs-Chargers, but multiple reports say it's going to be Chiefs-Chargers. Look at the Vikings, and I love this. This is a calculated risk here with Minnesota, and Minnesota is going to be on the road consecutive weeks in Dublin and London. And I think this is an advantage here for Minnesota. First of all, they don't give up a home game. Second of all, it's not a quote-unquote road game. It's neutral site. So even though the Steelers are at home, it's better to play the Steelers in Dublin than Pittsburgh, where it negates an advantage for Pittsburgh being at home. And Minnesota's a better team. Same with Cleveland. And it's an hour 15 flight from Dublin to London. I don't think this is stressful. Maybe Minnesota will play on a Thursday night before they travel and go the week before to Dublin. Maybe they'll have the bye week on October the 12th. So we'll see. But I actually think this favors the Minnesota Vikings. You start getting ready to put together your over-unders. And I think the Vikings are criminally undervalued for this upcoming season. Broncos-Jets, that's the game, of course. That was week 4 of the season at MetLife Stadium, where what could go wrong went wrong and derailed the entire season. Zerline missed the entire state of New Jersey on that final field goal from 50 yards. The rematch will be in London with the Broncos and the Jets. Rams-Jaguars, another pseudo home game for Jacksonville in London, and that certainly will have some sizzle with LA, who I think is going to be excellent this year. Colts and the Falcons, that game is going to be in Berlin in November, and you have the Commanders and the Dolphins, that game's going to be in Spain. As an example, right now on DraftKings, right, Vikings and the Steelers, Minnesota's favored by 1.5. If that game was in Pittsburgh, this point spread would be different. So I think that matters when it comes to, you know, where these games are and the spread and how that impacts, you know, what can actually transpire for these teams in the upcoming season. You had Fox announce a doubleheader on December the 20th, which is going to be incredible. I'm really looking forward to that. We also yesterday got the Black Friday matchup and a Christmas night game that is going to be played with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, this is pretty cool. First of all, Eagles-Packers, that's the tush-push game, because the Packers, who, you know, basically are crying foul when their quarterback can't complete the forward pass, they're the ones who are spearheading eliminating the tush-push. You think the Eagles are going to try and shove it up the tush for the Green Bay Packers in that game, Monday Night Football, ESPN Lambeau Field? Yes. I can't wait to take the Eagles to cover the spread and the over in that game. So that is certainly noteworthy. That double dip with Fox is going to be Eagles, Commanders, and Packers, Bears, Week 16. That's going to be awesome. Black Friday game. We had a lot of fun last year. We were on live making rain with Adam Schein when it was the Raiders and the Chiefs. This year we'll have the Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people thought that could be the season opening game. By the way, the spread on that game early on DraftKings is 7, which is the exact same number as Cowboys-Eagles, which is why you put Cowboys-Eagles on, because that game is going to do monster ratings and the buzz is going to be absolutely positively off the charts. Speaking of the Cowboys, Stephen Jones, the COO of the Dallas Cowboys, he was on my SiriusXM radio show today, said a lot of interesting things, and he compared George Pickens to Dez Bryant's eye-opening comment. And he said, of course we can handle George. We view him the same way we viewed Dez. And Dez Bryant obviously was a, my words here, diva receiver, but he was an unbelievable player, and I think that's what they're looking for here out of George Pickens. He also told me that George Pickens is not a number 2. He's more than that. Look at the Dallas Cowboys and their season betting profile. I am stunned that it's only 7.5. I think the Cowboys are going to win at least 9 games. I'm not ready to scream or declare anything else quite yet. We'll get the full schedule tomorrow night. We'll break it down on a sizzling edition of Making Rain with Adam Schein coming up on Thursday. But I expect the Dallas Cowboys to win at least 9 games. at least for this upcoming season. We ranted on the heinous nature of Dallas getting the number one pick of the NBA draft earlier in the show. You know, I think that there are a couple of other interesting storylines when you look at what transpired, including the Spurs. And we talked about this yesterday with the Giannis Antetokounmpo news. Our friend Shams Charania over at ESPN, he had the story that Giannis is open to being traded, which means he's gone. And we talked about the impact that the draft could have on that. Yeah, if I'm San Antonio, would I take the number 2 pick in a package and ship it to Milwaukee for Giannis Antetokounmpo? I would do that in a heartbeat. I think there's a real shot that it happens. And, you know, Ace Bailey should be the number 2 pick in the draft. He's a terrific, terrific player. Not Cooper Flagg, but a terrific, terrific prospect. So just something to keep in mind. And San Antonio has other guys. Steven Castle is a great young point guard, a great young guard who I think could be a former UConn star, could be part of a deal like that as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind here when it comes to, if you go to DraftKings, we put the odds up for Giannis yesterday. If you're looking at teams that can make a trade that, again, Giannis needs to say yes, and the Bucks need to say yes. I think San Antonio as a destination for Giannis Antetokounmpo makes a lot of sense. Let's get into the baseball for tonight. And Max Fried and my Yankees are taking on Brian Wu and the Seattle Mariners. And this is a sensational pitching matchup. Max Fried is 6-0, 105 ERA in 8 starts this season. ERA is the best in Major League Baseball. 1 earned run allowed over his last 4 starts. Yankees, this is important here, are 8-0 when Max Fried starts this season. Remember, he started in the torpedo bag game, and, you know, it took him a second to get going, and now he's been unbelievable. Wu's last 4 starts have just been incredible, and his home ERA, and he's pitching at home, is 1.38. So this is a tremendous pitching matchup, and I'm a Yankees fan, as you know, so I'm excited about it. I picked the Mariners with the playoffs preseason. Very much looking forward to the Yankees and the Seattle Mariners. We'll have a play on this one coming up in a couple of minutes. Diamondbacks Giants interest me greatly, and Brandon Pfaadt going up against Robbie Ray, to me, is a pitching matchup that is worthy of conversation. You know, I think that when you look at Brandon Pfaadt, 6-2 this season, 3.28 ERA in 8 starts. He's 2-1 on the road this season. He didn't allow an earned run in his last start going up against the Dodgers. We had Arizona as one of our best bets last night. Now, Robbie Ray has been terrific, right? Absolutely terrific. But I do like the Diamondbacks to take care of business yet again. Cardinals, Phillies, and Jesus Luzardo going up against Sonny Gray. That's fun. Sonny Gray has been excellent, 4-1, 3.5 ERA in 8 starts this season. Last start, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, and a walk, 8 strikeouts against Pittsburgh. I mean, it's really impressive when you take a look at what has been going on here with Sonny Gray, his ability to pitch well. And Jesus Luzardo has been excellent, especially at home. Wouldn't be surprised to see Sonny Gray and the Cardinals make it a perfect 10 in a row. Let's give out our best bets, which are absolutely incredible, brought to you by G-Bank. Get the G-Bank Visa Signature Card today. You know, most credit cards treat the old sports books as the gaming transactions, cash advantages. Even when you put your own money on the card, G-Bank treats gaming transactions as purchases. So you're saving up to 35% of the cash advance fees on gaming transactions right there. Also with G-Bank, you're earning 1% cashback rewards on all the eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cashback rewards on all eligible purchases. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank, VSiN.com/GBank. Here are our best bets for tonight's. A little variety for you. We're going to go with the Pacers with the points to cover 7.5, and that's, you get that at -108. Thunder will lay the 9.5, -110. Cardinals with our guy Sonny Gray, a little juice on the money line, a +124. And the Yankees with Max Fried beating the Mariners, -142. Stay tuned to VSiN After Make It Rain for Follow the Money with Paulie Howard and Mike Palm. Wes Reynolds is going to be on the show tonight. Looking forward to it. Then it's Matty Humans at VSiN Primetime. And then, of course, it's Cashing Out featuring Joe Serralo, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks to the guys in our Vegas studio, our incredible producer, Mike Cohen. We will talk to you mañana. Make it rain with Adam Schein.